He's so concerned about the past, he forgets to live in the present. With the result, he neither lives in the present nor in the future. He lives as if he's never going to die, Rufus. And he dies never having a live. We've got a gentleman, and he's put you to make certain that we all live. We need to make noise, and we need to acknowledge that and tick it and validate. Thank you so much. And one of the things that we walk in here, and as we get in here, is I'm going to ask at this point of time, right, Sujaya, when you were here, and we had a lot of conversation, we had meaningful conversations, right? We engage ourselves and we establish ourselves in many ways in here. Your observation, right, in the last 24 hours, what is the one single thing you feel you could take away from this trip?
A lot of things, like what you said about humility of Dr. Anne Quadros and Mr. Gomes. Yeah. They've opened their business, they've opened everything for us when we came here. Their homes, their heart, their businesses, they've shown us how things work here.
Sure. So it's calling an engagement, yeah? It is, yeah. I'm going to come back to Mr. Gomes as well, yeah, that's right, yeah. It's clearly indicated that in the year 2022, and Rufus, this is for you because you are on the threshold. Absolutely, you've been blessed by having had the advantage and the reins of capitalizing on getting into a business one. And we were talking as we came in here on a lot of stuff in there, right? Okay. One of the things, Rufus, and for the youngsters at this point of time, in the year 2020, it's projected that 20% of the jobs would be earmarked to people to connect. The difference between communication, I'm communicating here. But when I connect people, as you can understand people are listening to me, is connect in a way. Two examples. One, if I happen to be at Holy Family Hospital in Bandra and I walk in the portals at 2020, the person who is at the receptionist has got two choices. One, either she could say, excuse me sir, you're mad, you're crazy, you could have checked on the internet just for a common cold, you've come in here, you could have treated yourself. Two is when she connects and says, it's okay Mr. D'Souza. I mean, you came in all the way, there was no need, you could have checked on the internet. But since you will come in here, we'll look after you. It might take you an hour by the time your turn comes in, but sit back, relax. What do you think happens? Which would you prefer? Because she's connected. Number two, I happen to walk into the casino in here, right? Okay, fine. The bartender sees me. I've had a massive day, absolutely downhill. And he watches me and he says, and you've had a bad day, am I right here? But why are you having a margarita? Excuse me. You know, for your nerves, I think you really need is a good gin, a hot toddy, I'll fix it up for you. And he would say, sorry, excuse me bartender, you've got it. You actually see that I've existed? You really think I'm here in this bar? You understand that I live on this part of the world? Because at that point of time, everybody's living in a virtual world. Am I right? Onto that little gadget that's taken up your life. And you step out, he steps out of the virtual world and he sees that. He's connected with me, and that's the time I feel I've been appreciated and I'm actually living in this world. 2020, 20% of the jobs are earmarked for people to connect. Mr. Quadros has connected with people. Mr. Dr. Bitto last time, he said, get onto my campus, you ask anybody onto the line ranks, and you ask them how I make them feel. Oprah Winfrey said that on her television. It's not what you give people, it's how you make people feel. And that's the legacy we pass on to others. One of the things that I learned when I came in here just half an hour ago, and I'm sorry, and I'm really proud to share the space with you and with this gentleman. All right? And when you talked about the passion, what did we say, Merck? The one thing that really stands out large and clear, absolutely the whole 9 yards, is the word passion. What differentiates between you, me, and this gentleman, and that gentleman, and the fine entrepreneurs that we've seen, is the word passion. And that's the driving mode. And that's where he's gotten. He spent 25 years with a deliberate attempt on making certain that his vision and passion are compatible. And that's where he gets in here. And if I have to question in here, all I would say is, I wish I could match that particular passion in your territory. And that's where it would get me to where I am. Just before I close in here, we were watching the 61st Academy Awards last week. We've got a huge, humongous hit that she had, an artist called Pink. And in that massive hall, we are talking about in Las Vegas, in there, she in a leotard with an absolutely toned body, getting onto the aerobics on those ropes amongst 100, working out sideways, broadways, underways, the whole gamut, 9 years I'm talking about it. And through all that, sexually and sensually she sings. Every moment is orchestrated. Every being of hers is just one thing. Passion for that singing. She couldn't be bothered to what she is. She could have capitalized on the way that she is. She's got a huge name and a humongous hit on her hands. But no, just like that gentleman, she walks on the stage. That's my prime time. Thank you very much. You respect me, I respect you for having come in here. And for the next 3 minutes, I'm going to zap you, zonk you, get you out of all that you are, and I'm going to perform with a passion. I'm so glad, and all of us individually and collectively are so glad to set and stand and stage the performances of people in here. Sharing this for myself is a humbling effect. And I'm so glad that we've been able to pass this on in here. And whatever person fight that you have, the little things that you walked in here and haven't tended to people is what really makes a difference. Last week when we were at the Locha in an industrial estate, we had the first trip at the pharmaceutical, am I right? Yeah, correct. Darryl, am I right? Yeah. And then we had the lunch break, correct? During the lunch break, in the most inconspicuous person that you would have absolutely simplified and said, oh, who's this particular character? We had a graying person, bespectacled, in his late 60s, and asking us, I didn't know a darn thing about who the person is, but I smiled, as I normally would smile. And he walked across and says, would you need something? Do you like something? Can I get you something? And we were saying that, who's this person? Does he own this restaurant in here? Much later, when we walked out from there, and he directed us into his vehicle and took us to a sprawling 7 acres in prime land in Mumbai for Bharat Coach. That was the humbling effect to understand that this man is a multi-millionaire. 37 years ago, Mr. Walter Barreto, 37 years ago, against all odds, that man with all the detractors must have said, you're crazy, Mr. Barreto, you're mad, you're going in a jungle, who's ever heard of the Loja? You should be, you couldn't be working in there. But man steps in there, fights the unions, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah? Gets against all the odds, evens out his life, gives life to 2 of his kids, and yet manages that work. And all that I had to tell him in a vote of thanks was, Mr. Barreto. Sorry, Mr. Botello. Yeah. You get a chassis, an absolute inanimate thing from Ashok Leyland. You walk it through the next 7 days in your assembly line, having people employed who meticulously and carefully work on it, and then you've got it customized to what your client says. But what really nails the head, in my opinion, is that you breathe in life in that inanimate chassis. When it steps out, walks out of 7 days, and gets on that ship to serve humanity and the community at some point in Chile, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and not to forget Jai Ho, India. But that's what the man had done. And today he sits so comfortably, but he doesn't rest on his laurels because he's passion driven and to help out that community, the Catholic community. We should be ever so grateful as we gently step into those caring hands of people like Merck,